The movie begins in a Canadian town called Red Crow, where many Indigenous people live. In the first scene, we see an elderly man named Gizigu, who successfully catches a few fish. He carefully removes their guts and begins to clean them, but soon notices something strange. The clean fish start moving and jumping. Gizigu is shocked when he sees the fish return to the water and swim as if nothing had happened. Local Sheriff Trailer receives a call from his ex-wife Joss, informing him that her dog is in very bad condition and might have been poisoned. When Trailer arrives, he tries to help the dog, but seeing it suffering, he decides to put it down, realizing there is nothing else he can do. After this, he goes inside Joss's house, where she, who works as a nurse, tells him that their son Joseph was arrested in a neighboring town, and along with him, his half-brother Lysol was detained. Joss asks Trailer to go immediately and get them out, but the sheriff decides to wait, allowing the teens some time to reflect on their behavior. After placing the dead dog in the trunk of his car, Trailer heads to his father Gizigu's house. The old man shows him the same fish, which, despite having their organs removed, continue to live. He admits that he has never encountered anything like this and is deeply frightened. After their conversation, they decide to burn the fish. When Trailer opens the trunk, his dead dog suddenly comes back to life and attacks him, shocking the sheriff. Without hesitation, he shoots the dog again and then burns the remains. However, they are surprised to see the fish still moving even in the fire. In the jail cell, Joseph and Lysol see another inmate approach them, suffering from bouts of bloody vomiting. This disgusts and worries them. Some time later, Trailer and Joss arrive at the station to deal with their son's arrest. It turns out they were detained for climbing onto a bridge and urinating on passing drivers. When they enter the cell, the sick inmate suddenly goes into a rage and attacks the boss. In a fit of aggression, he bites Joseph's hand. A police officer arrives just in time and knocks the attacker out with a flashlight, rendering him unconscious. Afterwards, Joseph and Joss head to the hospital. On the way, Joss scolds her son for constantly causing problems and tells him it's time to grow up. She's also concerned that Joseph's relationship with Lysol is having a bad influence on him. Joseph explains that his brother has been through a lot of suffering after his mother's death, and Trailer pays no attention to him. Joseph promises to try not to act recklessly anymore. Afterwards, Joseph arrives at the hospital, where he meets his girlfriend Charlie, who is pregnant. She was planning to have an abortion, but Joseph convinces her to keep the baby, assuring her that he will take care of her and their future. In the end, Charlie changes her mind and decides to keep the child. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Joss tries to find tetanus shots, but discovers that they are out due to an unexpected influx of patients with bites in the past 24 hours. Suddenly, one of the nurses loses control and starts biting people, spreading panic throughout the hospital. Later that evening, Trailer receives an urgent call from a local man named Shooker, who says that his girlfriend has become aggressive and is trying to attack him. When Trailer arrives at the scene, he sees the woman behaving extremely strangely and eventually biting him. However, the sheriff manages to defeat her by striking her several times in the head. Afterward, Trailer and Shooker get into the car, and Joss calls the sheriff in a panic, reporting that a nurse at the hospital tried to bite her and that chaos has broken out. Trailer immediately heads to the hospital. On the way, he encounters an ambulance with Joss, Joseph, and Charlie inside. They manage to escape, but the reanimated dead are still hunting them. After killing several zombies and burning their remains, the group realizes they are facing a full-scale pandemic. 6 months pass, and the zombies have overrun Red Crow, which has now been turned into a fortified compound. The locals have discovered that the indigenous inhabitants are immune to zombie bites, while the white settlers are not. This explains why Trailer and Joseph survived despite being bitten by zombies. However, tensions within the compound begin to rise. Lysol grows increasingly hostile toward the refugees and is unhappy that Joseph is bringing white people into the camp. One day, Joseph brings a man to the camp who is asking for help for his sick daughter. This enrages Lysol, who scolds his brother for allowing outsiders into their community. Lysol decides to kill the man and his daughter, but Joseph and Charlie try to stop him. A fierce argument breaks out, and in his rage, Lysol points a gun at Charlie, but Trailer intervenes and de-escalates the conflict. After examining the girl, Trailer realizes that she has been bitten and has no chance of survival. With a heavy heart, he tells her father that nothing can be done and that he will have to say goodbye to his daughter. Trailer sends the father back to the camp and, with immense sorrow, ends the girl's suffering. A young woman named Lilith arrives at the camp, and Joss begins to question her. She asks direct questions about whether Lilith has had to eat people or animals, such as dogs. Lilith adamantly denies this. Then comes the question of whether she has been bitten, to which Lilith also answers no. However, we later find out that this is a lie. When Lilith goes to the bathroom, she examines a bite wound on her abdomen. Meanwhile, the father who lost his daughter takes his own life in the bathroom and quickly turns into one of the infected. Lilith notices this, but doesn't tell anyone. Trailer and his team, which includes his father Gizagu and another man named Bumper, discuss their survival plans. Their main problem is a lack of ammunition, and the number of infected continues to grow. They are currently holding off the infected on a bridge using a truck, but they need to last until the end of winter. During the discussion, they are informed about the death of Lilith's father, and Trailer goes to deal with the situation. At the same time, Charlie has an honest conversation with Joseph. She says she feels like the baby inside her is eating her, and she is worried that their child might not have immunity since she is white. Joseph, trying to reassure her, promises that everything will be fine and kisses her. Joss checks on Trailer after he has been attacked again. When she removes his shirt, she notices that his back is covered in bite marks. She stitches up his wound, despite having no anesthesia, and warns him that he will have to endure the pain. Trailer calmly withstands the process and thanks her for her help. Meanwhile, Lysol, high on drugs, approaches Joseph and apologizes for the past incidents, admitting his mistakes and expressing regret for constantly causing problems in the family. Joseph, feeling sorry for him, forgives his brother, as family is the most important thing to him. After this emotional moment, Lysol notices Lilith in the distance and decides to go talk to her. Flirting, he leads her to a room, hoping for a romantic evening, but unexpectedly Lilith transforms into one of the infected and attacks him, inflicting serious injuries. Lysol screams in pain. Joseph rushes to help, horrified to see his brother fall victim to the aggressive creature. Trailer and his team set out in search of supplies and soon arrive at a gas station, where they encounter numerous infected. Despite the danger, they manage to take them down one by one. Upon returning to the camp, Joseph ties up Lilith and places a bag over her head to protect the others. He also brings his severely injured brother to their mother, reassuring her that the family will help. However, Lizzle, while hugging his brother, stabs him. When asked why he did it, Lizzle replies that he has no family. Fortunately, Joseph manages to avoid fatal injuries and escapes from his brother, who has lost control. After that, Lizzle frees Lilith, leading to catastrophic consequences. Lilith immediately begins attacking the camp's residents, and many become infected. This provokes chaos in the camp and leads to further spreading of the threat. When Trailer and his team return to the camp, they discover everything is in chaos. Trailer quickly contacts Joes over the radio and learns that she, Charlie, and 8 other survivors are trapped in the camp's basement. Time is running out, and Trailer comes up with a clever plan. He uses music from the car to distract the infected. Thanks to this maneuver, Trailer and his team manage to get inside the building to rescue the trapped survivors. They find the survivors and start looking for a safe place for evacuation. However, their plan falls apart when the infected arrive, forcing Trailer to use weapons to protect them. Unfortunately, the gunfire only makes the situation worse, attracting even more infected. Realizing they have no other choice, Trailer orders his family and the other survivors to leave while he stays behind to hold off the horde. Trailer holds back the infected with all his strength, but soon there are too many and he dies. His family watches in shock, unable to process it, but Gisegu and Bumper manage to lead them to the truck. On the road, Gisegu receives a radio message that Lizzle has trapped other survivors in a church. He asks Joes and Charlie to go with Bumper to a safe place while he and Joseph deal with Lizzle. When they arrive at the church, Lizzle is nowhere to be found, but 2 of his accomplices are present. Gisegu demands information about Lizzle, but they refuse to talk. As a result, Gisegu and Joseph quickly neutralize them and free the captives. The next morning, Bumper is guarding Joseph and Charlie by the lake. They notice a boat in the distance and start making a plan as soon as the others arrive. However, suddenly Lizzle appears and gravely injures Bumper. It turns out his real plan was to distract the men and kill Charlie and her child. Lizzle approaches Charlie with the intent to take her life, but Joes points a gun at him. She shoots him, but Lizzle manages to release a group of infected from the trunk of his car. The infected immediately begin attacking Charlie. A few minutes later, Joseph arrives and kills all the attackers, but he discovers that Charlie has been bitten. In despair, he stabs his stepbrother, leaving him to die. Joseph and the others realize that the only remaining boat is on fire, and their last hope for escape is gone. They are ready to accept their fate, but suddenly Shuker arrives with 2 boats. The survivors head toward him with Joe, but at that moment a new wave of infected approaches them. Seeing this, Gisegu decides to stay behind to fight them off and buy time for the others. Joseph tries to stop him, but the old man insists that he, Joes, Charlie and the baby leave. On the boat, Charlie goes into labor, and Joes helps her give birth. After a long effort, Charlie delivers a baby girl. Joes quickly examines the infant and delivers the good news: the baby is not infected. Charlie is relieved, But she knows her own time is running out. She begs Joseph to end her suffering so that she won't turn into one of the infected and harm her family. With a heavy heart, Joseph decides to fulfill her last request and end her suffering. The movie ends with Joes holding the newborn baby in her arms, reflecting on the future they will all have to face. Thank you for your attention and see you next time.